The story of Steve Jobs, once upon a time, in San Francisco. A little boy was born to a young mother who couldn't keep him. She made sure he wouldn't have any brothers or sisters either. I wanted to give him a better chance at life, she said later. She placed the baby boy in an orphanage. Days turned into weeks, but no one wanted to adopt him. He was different. His eyes were deep-set and almond-shaped. His skin tone was darker than most. They say he was born with a fire in his belly. Then one day, a kind couple named Paul and Clara Jobs saw a picture of the baby and felt something. They had no idea what it was, but they knew they wanted him. So they named him Steve. And Steve wasn't like other kids. While others played outside, he liked to take apart radios and machines. He asked big questions and didn't always follow the rules. At school, teachers said he was difficult. But Steve was simply curious. He wanted to know how things worked. Why did the ball roll that way? How did the bicycle stay upright? Why did the dog bark and the bird fly? He asked so many questions that his adoptive parents worried he'd never stop. But Steve was simply curious, deeply curious. As Steve grew, so did his imagination. He loved electronics, but also calligraphy and design. He loved to sketch different typefaces, logos, posters. He collected album covers like other kids collected stamps. In high school, Steve excelled in both science and art, but he didn't get along with his classmates. He was a dreamer and often looked down on those he thought weren't as smart as him. I think that stuff is mostly nonsense, he told his biographer later. I never really fit in. After finishing high school, Steve joined a college called Reed. It was famous for being unconventional, a place where students could explore their own ideas. But it didn't feel right. There were too many rules, too much bureaucracy, too many people who didn't want to change the world. After one semester, Steve dropped out. He did and want to spend 2 years studying something he didn't care about, to get a piece of paper that didn't mean anything. He wanted to learn his own way, attending classes he liked, sleeping on friends' floors, collecting soda bottles for money. But Steve still felt something was missing. He needed a purpose, a reason to get out of bed every morning. Then one day, while working on a computer game with a friend, Steve met another Steve, Steve Wozniak, a genius engineer who worked at Hewlett-Packard. The two Steves hit it off immediately and became best friends. They talked for hours about electronics, machines, the future, and one day they decided to build a small computer together. The world's first personal computer, something that would change everything. But they had no office, no money, no employees. Just big dreams. So they worked in Steve's garage, week after week, day after day, until one day in 1976 they finished. They had built a small computer that could be programmed with a keyboard and display information on a screen. It was unlike anything seen before. Steve and Wozniak called their new company Apple. And soon, Apple became famous. Magazines, newspapers, television programs featured their story. People wanted to buy their computer. Steve was just 21 years old and already a millionaire. But success wasn't easy. Steve was a dreamer, a perfectionist who demanded the best from everyone, including himself. He worked day and night to make computers beautiful, powerful, and simple. In 1984, Steve introduced the Macintosh. It was the first computer with a screen, a mouse, and icons you could click. It was magical. But then, something unexpected happened. In 1985, the Apple board decided Steve was too difficult to work with. They fired him from the company he had started. Steve was heartbroken. He felt betrayed, lost. But instead of giving up, he started a new company called Next, building powerful computers for schools. He also bought a small animation studio called Pixar. Most people laughed. They thought Steve was crazy. What did he know about animations? But Steve believed in stories and he believed in technology. So he hired the best animators and programmers and told them to create something the world had never seen before. In 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the first ever full-length computer animated movie. It was a massive hit. Steve's studio became the king of animation. Meanwhile, Apple was in trouble. The company was losing money fast. Its new products flopped. Its employees left. In 1997, they asked Steve to come back, and he did. This time, Steve was wiser. He led Apple with a bold vision. First came the colorful iMac, then the tiny iPod, with 1,000 songs in your pocket. Then the revolutionary iPhone, a phone, music player, and computer, all in one. The world was amazed at each product. Steve showed the world that technology could be beautiful and that simplicity was powerful. Steve once said, "Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice." And he lived by that. In 2011, after a long illness, Steve Jobs passed away. But the story of the boy who thought differently lives on in every iPhone, in every Pixar film, in every person who dares to dream big. Because once a little boy in a garage believed he could change the world, and he did. That's all for today. See you next time.